Welcome to Burning Bright, a weekly podcast presenting poetry and prose from Passager. As this year's spring academic semester comes to a close and students are winding up their coursework, I asked our four wonderful interns to pick pieces from Passager that they connected with. This episode of Burning Bright features those pieces. Alberto Rodriguez is working on a master's degree in publishing at New York University.
I've always been fascinated by how, in American society, extreme physical sports like American football are often used to define masculinity. That's why I chose Gilbert Arzola's poem, Second String. In this poem, a scrawny boy named Daryl fails to make the grade, fails that rite of passage. He disappears not only beneath a pile of helmets and dirt, but also under the crushing weight of his inability to prove that he is a man, both to his peers and to himself.
Second String. Daryl was second string and only weighed $115 and couldn't do the crossbody block drill because you had to just stand there and take a hit. And he couldn't just stand there. So Coach Maddox spit, and Coach Maddox hollered, the whistle hanging from his neck, bouncing like circumstance against his fat belly. He hollered about toughening up and taking it like a man. But Daryl was second string and only weighed $115 and would never be as strong or as fast or good enough to play the games of boys. I have no way of knowing what happened to him after that. I have no other memory of him but the one of him disappearing beneath a pile of helmets and dirt. So I can't say if he ever toughened up or became a man. Gilbert Arzola's Second String from his book, Prayers of Little Consequence. Stevie Rosenfeld is finishing her second year at American University. She's majoring in journalism and environmental studies.
Fran Markover's poem, How to Properly Fry an Egg, speaks to me about some simple but important aspects of family life. The poem reminds us to slow down and appreciate both the positive and negative aspects of what we have and who we share it with, because these things and people may not be with us forever.
How to Properly Fry an Egg. When family yawns in the farmhouse, the rooster squawking cadenzas, tiptoe downstairs. Open the door. Apple blossoms and manure wafting through the air. On the walk past willowy cathedrals, gather peonies for the kitchen, if only for petals that cobble the paths toward candles. Quiet your footfalls when you near the barn. From safe darkness, the birds will hear the sotto voce of whispers as you beckon the leghorn celebrated for Olympian jumps, or the girl named for a chatty niece. Wandering through hay is the skinny hen who's scarred and feisty. She's the one to follow with song. Sinatra, not Pavarotti, or something peppy. The supreme. Stop! In the name of love, of brief flight, of wings, of gifts received, eggs that speak without language, ovals bedded in straw, ungraded, candled from a lifted palm until dawn's headline, Guns and Riot, is folded for another day, until what's held reminds you of physics, oscillation, shine, free falls of the unexpected, how the ordinary can spark into Fabergés under quickening light. Place the chosen in the wire basket. They'll soon adorn the cast iron, settle into buttery chunks from the farmer up the road, the cow you've milked. Focus, breathe, tap each egg, conjure heartbeat, radiance, rebirth. Alchemy as it inflames, albumin, yolk becoming gold-crowned, white-ringed. Trust small bones in your wrist to twist the spatula. Trust what's easy and over, what's flawed, forgive. lumps and tears, riverings from mistakes. Count to 10. Let the eggs stop quivering. Assure they'll have company from the orchestration of hash browns, toast, homemade cider. Coax the eggs onto bramble pink wedgewood a great aunt bequeathed. Platters supporting the eggs with their fine old china bones. Fork in hand, offer grace for leafy garden greens, sun and rain, your farmer father, our birds who came to us unafraid, everyone young and alive. Fran Markover's poem How to Properly Fry an Egg, from her book Grandfather's Mandolin. Kristen Lim is a media and communication major at Goucher College, where she's completing her senior year.
Ruth Goring's poem Textiles draws parallels between stitching and writing. It mirrors my own experiences with the creative process. She talks about how we transform personal and social pain into beauty and art. Painting feels like poetry to me, and all of these creative outlets represent pieces of my life. This poem really moved me the first time I read it.
Textiles. The lake is a sheet of jade under a sheet of clouds. The air settles, alert as a watching animal. You go still to hear blood buzzing in your skull. Then wind rises, its fingers rustle leaves. Colors speak from white, words from silence. You rock on haunches, folding language over itself. Sentences are seams that pierce and hold the garment of your life. You rise and twirl this skirt, stitched of that sky-blue dress when you were 7. The river falling over rocks. The eggs you found in dark edges of the shed. The rope you jumped with sisters. Notebooks you filled. Songs you learned. A friend texts from another continent to ask if God will hear her prayers for animals. A calf on her farm is sick. Before you can answer, he dies. How to weave the boy in a square of darkness. His grandmother's backyard, felled by a storm of police bullets. What of the swallowing of islands, the bartered girls? Some of your seams cut back and forth, make drunken paths, then fold into long arcs, miracles of mending. You set yellow beside sadness. You stitch with words into the silence that holds everything. From Passager's 2019 Poetry Contest issue, Ruth Goring's poem, Textiles. Martha Davis is finishing her junior year as a French Studies major at New York University.
My first project with Passager was reading Wilderness Sarchild's book, Old Women Talking, and I really connected with it. As a young woman, it is bittersweet to read poetry written by an older woman about aging, and Visitation provoked a strong emotional response in me, as did Sarchild's other poems about her mother. I have a very strong relationship with my mother and with my grandmothers. They're both still living, and I was lucky enough to have 2 great-grandmothers in my life growing up, so I have firm convictions about the unique bonds and strength that are passed down through generations of women, and Visitation perfectly captures this feeling.
In my dream, I feel her spirit hand combing through my hair, comforting as a lullaby. How does she know that I still need to be cradled through the night by the one who carried me in her womb over 60 years ago? Wilderness Sarchild's poem Visitation, from her book Old Women Talking. We've been listening to poems that resonated with our current interns. If you know someone who might want to intern with Passager, send them to the Intern tab on Passager's website. Scroll down to the bottom of the page under Help and Information. To buy Gilbert Arzola's book Prayers of Little Consequence, or Fran Markover's book Grandfather's Mandolin, or Wilderness Sarchild's book Old Women Talking, or to subscribe to, donate to, or learn more about Passager and its commitment to older writers, visit PassagerBooks.com. Passager offers a 25% discount on the books and journal issues featured here on Burning Bright. Visit our website to see what's on sale this week. Thanks to our interns Alberto, Kristen, Martha, and Stevie for their help with this week's podcast. For Christine, Roseanne, Mary, Asher, and the rest of the Passenger staff, I'm John Shore.